said there's maybe like since there's no football stuff Thursday or Friday.
I don't know if you can bury control over yours.
That'd be good.
Come on, I think just hold it.
I don't know how. Building. Nate, do you know anything about setting up RTMP outfits?
I don't.
Alright.
I didn't know what that stands for.
It's for trying to get to Twitter. Shelby's trying to take it live as well. So we have the outfit she gets, but this X seems to be an issue. Strength man.
Yes.
Just figured I'd ask. Try to go more or less.
Try connect to social media, maybe we can do it that way.
Just put your light up here.
Okay, that went
That
down.
wasn't it?
Close.
I don't have that.
Put your mouth in there. Okay.
Uh-oh. There we go.
Do SPF
Or publish and grab and then
Unfortunately, it's the brightest.
Just set up, you can't set up, you can't set up your light?
I mean, we could, I just don't know if he wants it.
It'd be right in his face.
Yeah.
No, if you're further away though, then
Should I just leave it on low and I can always brighten it a little bit in post?
Did it come in too hot last week, last night?
No, I just.
yeah,
No, it
I
didn't
don't,
hot at all.
I think
but
I
you
might be able to use something
can
with
see
you
it's
that
a little
could
green.
though.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's true. Well, I'm on, so you would
Just
leave it off?
Leave it on low, crank it all the way up, and I'll brighten it a little bit in
Okay.
post.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I don't think it affects the stream either.
Yeah, yeah, the screen's fine.
Yes. 731.
Thanks, Troy.
731.
Yep.
Oh, good.
234.
How you doing?
3235.
Where you sit, DJ?
On the corner. 234, 3235.
Yep.
Any chance at the upset tonight, Jay?
I'm just saying, Gino hit a walk-off bomb for the Hens last night, so.
Johnny's going to the game.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Nice.
I wonder if
Oh, I think he told me that. His brother, yeah.
His brother,
Does
yeah.
the
Yeah.
Cove Live link look familiar? Okay.
You and John?
I'm trying to think of a
Nice way to put it.
respectful nice way to respond. Your point? Yeah.
Let's see if I can find
You guys get me down, Jake.
I think it's still Padres, clearly. I haven't looked. I wanted to catch the Mets. I was hoping to catch the Mets.
Brewers, and they could get there, it's only two back.
Yeah, I guess.
Not for the Cardinals.
They don't scare me though. I know the division's like 9 games.
I know, yeah.
They don't scare me.
Who's that?
Brewers. Mariners don't scare me in the World Series.
Kick your ass.
Albert's just what, 3 back now?
Dude, I'm next Wednesday and Thursday. I'll be there. I'm coming on today, and all the left field seats are sold out, so I'm gonna have to figure something out.
In San Diego.
There's a ton of open seats, but the whole entire left field area. There was one that was like I may have to splurge for it, but I may just go stand in the aisle with my glove or something when he comes up, you know, Zach Campbell style. Try to.
You might be able to, I mean, I don't think you want a chance at the ball, but a lot of times when I've gone as a single, I've had really good seats,
Well,
but not that.
that's the part. The part of me is like I'm gonna wait because he's already at 700. I'd rather sit behind the plate, but if he's literally like 698. I have a chance, you know, to see 1 or 2 that game. Like I want to be out in left field.
It'll go out over.
Yeah, probably will.
Yeah. I'll spend all that money in that
Discuss with my.
Albert Pujols rounds third for his first career inside the park.
That would be funny.
They would have had to
Well,
shift.
that's what like.
They'd have to really shift and have the ball go in the right
when
field
Mark
corner.
McGuire
There'd be a guy going up to Rob when it hit on the wall.
When McGuire hit 60, when McGuire hit 62, it was the Old Busch Stadium, and it went in like
It didn't make it into the
It
stands.
was like one of his shortest home runs of the year,
Yeah,
probably.
yeah. It went over like into like a storage area. So one of the ground crew guys just grabbed it because it didn't even make it to the stands. So after the game, he
It
just
looks
gave it
like
back
Wright
to him.
Code doesn't even let you do it to Twitter.
Oh, he had to. It's
Facebook.
standing in the void.
Yeah.
He might have been required to. He could just quit, I guess, and then sold it for $10. I don't know. I was wondering what
Well, I guess you can quit and then get fired.
I was talking to some people if I actually caught 700 like in a dream scenario, what would I ask for in return? Johnny goes, you're a homer, you just give it back. Rachel Roberts.
What about tickets at the Cardinal game?
I was, maybe. I was gonna request minimum of 2 jerseys and 2 bats signed. And I want my kids to have a chance to meet them. I'm not a big I'm more of like a memory type person. Like I'd rather have a memory of like my kids meeting them in a photo.
Yeah, oh, I would agree.
Than like up to 20 grand or whatever. But I also like maybe I could just sell it straight to Albert. You know, you get 400 million in your career. You know, at an auction, you can buy this for 200K. I'll give it to you for 50. Apparently, with like the authenticator though, you don't authenticate it. If you leave the stadium and walk authenticate it, then you can try to play hardball and play like, oh, that's not the good ball. Oh, it's authenticated. You know, but like if you're on TV, people can show you guys. You know, that. And somebody was telling me like, they're gonna try to play stadium before they'll try to pressure you and give you a ball back up with that for something small, and they'll try to claim, oh, you know, if you leave, it's not authenticated and all this. Come on, do it.
They won't authenticate
This thing means so much to Albert. You really want to do this? Like they're gonna try to play whatever hardball. So I don't know. It ain't gonna happen, but it's dream would be nice. I just want to be there. I don't care if it happens.
So what do they have? The way it's really playing.
Tuesday, they're off today. Tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday.
Okay.
Weekend, Saturday, and Sunday. It's a 5-game series in these Reds. We won't play the doubleheader.
No, it's okay.
They're home Thursday through Sunday. Doubleheader. And they're off Monday. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Sunday. And I'm going Wednesday night game, Thursday day. So he's got
He needs how many? 3?
he's only get 2 in the game four times this year. So
Well, and you're listing some teams that the pitching hasn't been that good still. And is the Cincinnati game at home or
the
away?
next 7 are at home.
I was gonna say the Cincinnati
Yeah,
ball.
our
That's
team
the
actually
next
is
one.
it wouldn't shock me if they this week at home.
on.
Is this fine right here? Whoever's mic this is, will it catch me?
Oh, I can good.
What's that?
Thank you.
Yeah, bro. Ready to roll? Thank you guys for adjusting today. We got head coaches meetings for Mountain West today, so thank you guys for being flexible and adjusting on our media time from 1 o'clock to 12 o'clock. Let's get it rolling.
How good does it feel to hit the practice field coming off of one with a little bit of momentum, Andy?
Yeah, I mean, the guys, it was good for the guys to get a little break there, too, on Saturday, to get some extra rest time coming off the short week and, the travel situation that we had within the first couple weeks. So it was really good for the team to get some rest on Saturday, and it was awesome to get back in here yesterday and have some meetings, go through the game film. Obviously, even with a victory, there's plenty of areas where we can continue to grow, and we're excited to do that. And the guys showed it yesterday. It was fun to get on the field yesterday afternoon. They had a little bit more energy than this Monday, the week before, understandably.
We've seen Scott obviously used on offense. Talking with Frank before the season, he said that Herbert Gums is one of the most athletic guys he's ever coached that position. With what you can tell us, the evolution of using Herb Gums on offense and at fullback.
Well, it started all the way back in the springtime, and the first rep he had, I think it was a very scary experience for the corner on the edge when the down blocks came and Herb came screaming off the edge. And you go back and watch Herbie play some tailback in high school. He was a little bit lighter then, but he still got a little bit of twitch, and he's fast-footed and all those things. He did a really nice job actually following the puller up behind off Scott's block up into the hole there. And I think just from the standpoint of a team effort, being able to get some guys on defense to help jump in there on some short yardage situations is always fun.
He came to the sideline, he was smiling. Like, what does stuff like that do to the spirit of a player or a team by sprinkling that stuff in?
Yeah, that's what I said. It's the team effort, working together as a team and being able to use guys just like on special teams when we all come together. I think our team enjoys those opportunities, those situations. Typically the whole sideline gets pretty excited when that, whether it's in practice or not, when that group gets called.
What were you most pleased with as far as an area that you thought improved from week 1 to week 2? If I said pick one thing, what would you say the most improved?
You know what, the guys, well, number one, they practice throughout the course of the week with it, and handle the process with a sense of urgency. And the guys trusted it when we got in the game, just so we needed to grow off from coming off of week number 1. And we got stronger as the game went. We got stronger in the second quarter. We got stronger in the third quarter. Third quarter is probably, one of our better quarters there. Now, obviously, as we get to get other guys in the game and stuff, we got to be able to finish a little bit better than what we did there. But I was really proud of how, the offense handled all those different fronts and pressures that we were seeing. If you go back and watch the film, was it blocked up perfectly? No, it's hard to handle all that movement, but we were able to identify up front, especially protection-wise. I thought the offensive line and the tailbacks, George and Ashton, did a really good job picking up with the O-line. And again, a very difficult scheme that has produced a lot of pressure on the quarterback. So we are excited about that. We had on defense, we took on a lot of play-action passes, and the secondary did a really good job. The corners did a real good job. They went right at Tubes right out of the gate, and he handled it. Obviously, it helps when George wins his one-on-one right out of the gates in the first play of the game and got that sack. But I was really excited to see how we improved with our pre-snap communication, getting in rhythm, playing on defense, and then playing with better eye control to be able to fend off some of the play-action passes. We don't talk about injuries, but it was not disciplinary reasons. He didn't do anything bad.
When you went back and watched the film, how did you evaluate how Hank played?
Yeah, so again, he got stronger as the game went. The best thing about it is, again, with the looks that we were getting from that particular defense, he took what the defense gave him. And again, we're proud of the way the guys protected for him. Obviously, there's always room to grow in certain scenarios, but the first play to Latrell, we practiced that play on literally that spot of the field, and he did it just like he did in practice. He went through his progression, got the same coverage as we got in practice. He connected with Latrell, and he did the rest. And so that's just one example. Obviously, there's more examples of where he did things well, but the number one thing is, how do we keep growing off of this? How do we keep getting ourselves in rhythm with our wide receiver group, with our tight ends, finding the tailbacks and using the tailbacks, as check downs when need be.
In terms of getting the offense off to a faster start, you had a couple more 3-and-outs to start the game. Is there anything the same you've seen in both games, or was it just a different kind of game, or how do you get going a little faster maybe?
Yeah, it's a goal in all three phases to start fast. On offense, we did not start that fast. Again, we got stronger as the game went. So I think through 2 games now, obviously, we have a good idea of our personnel and what we can do. The thing about it is now is being able to build off of that, be able to personnel certain things, to be able to put guys in certain positions of things that they do well, from whether it's a tailback, a wide receiver position, a tight end position, and being able to be more strategic with that so that we can have guys in the right place to start faster than what we did.
Scott Mallott's kind of hit that territory where he can have a really good game, and we almost don't even talk about it. How good was he against New Mexico?
Yeah, he did a really good job. To be honest with you, the whole defensive front did a really good job. But we didn't give up very many rushing yards, and we're going to have a huge challenge this week. This team runs the ball really well. They run about, much like New Mexico, they're going to hit about every run scheme on the board. So it's going to be a huge week of run fits, but obviously this team can do it through the air as well. And so Scotty played really well last week. Again, in the run game, and he created pressure on the quarterback. He's the one that got the sack that knocked their offense back, and then obviously the next play we were able to block the punt. So it put their punt team obviously in a situation that allowed us to be more aggressive, and we were able to capitalize, which again, that's going into that drive right there. James had an unbelievable punt coming off of the series before. The defense capitalizes. Our punt return team goes out there and blocks. That's a great example of team defense, and all of us are teamwork all together, the team working together in all 3 phases.
How impressive is his athleticism, versatility? We saw him pressure the quarterback. There's some plays where he's moving down the line of scrimmage to make some plays too.
Yeah, the guy's impressive, and he knows that he's even got room to grow and keep getting better. But he's very disruptive, and not only how hard does he play, but he doesn't like coming out. He's in there all the time. And that's a cool deal, and he knows what he does on offense too. Anytime we get in certain situations, he's the first one off the bench because he knows his number might get called, and he's bringing Herbie with him down the other sideline. So we're excited about the start that Scott is off to, and we just look forward to him continuing to grow as well as the rest of the front.
What's your evaluation of how the receivers have done the first couple of weeks in terms of just getting separation?
Yeah, that's it's not it's a couple different deals. We can create more separations by some of the things we do in the pre-snap, and we definitely talked about that. And then, how we accelerate off the ball and how we're reading coverages, and if routes adjust, and all those things have something to do with it as well. And that is, obviously an area of emphasis is to create space within the passing game and making sure that we are, getting our routes to the proper landmarks and staying on schedule with the quarterback and the timing of the offense.
Did you guys see something, at halftime or have any discussions? It seemed like the second half there were a lot more shifts and motions and, pre-snap things as far as your offense.
You know what, we discussed a lot of things at halftime, and we were able to come out, and that was our most productive quarter right there. I think that we got to a few things there in the second half that maybe we could have gotten to obviously earlier. But the things that we were able to identify at halftime were exactly what we had talked about throughout the course of the week, and we had a plan for some things that we could go to if certain things weren't working, and obviously we got to those, and again, we probably could have got to them quicker.
Describe what you think we're going to see out of UT Martin. What do they do? What is their
from an offensive standpoint, I'm assuming you're answering? Both? So offensively, I mean, they're probably closest to an opponent we would play. I would say probably Utah State. They're a spread team that will use the whole field, and they have an explosive pass game and run game. I mean, their stats are the best in their conference on both sides of the ball, offensively and defensively. They got a quarterback who can make every throw on the field, and he is a run fit number as well. Like I said already, from a run game standpoint, they're going to run almost every run scheme there is, and so we've got to have a great week of practice understanding our fits. It's not triple option, but when you're dealing with a quarterback run fit number and a quarterback that has wide receivers that are vertical threats and routes that create conflicts within run fits, and you got to do a really good job, much like you do in the triple option, with making sure that we're doing our job and playing with great eye control. And then there's going to be some tackles in space that are going to need to get made. Defensively, a three-man front that's going to move around. They play a lot of cover four. They've got a good secondary, and they got some guys up front that have shown to create havoc, with some interior defensive linemen in their first couple games.
You guys won like 10 teams that had to play 2 road games, to start the season. How eager are you guys just to, you're going to get to make that up now and have some home games coming up here in this nice stretch here? How exciting is it to have some home games now? Yeah, I mean, the energy, again, was high. BJ, yesterday, I think the guys needed the break on Saturday. I know they did. You don't control all that stuff, how the schedule works. You play a late game, and then you got a short week the next week, all those things. You just prepare for it in the off season. And we had a stretch in camp, in fall camp, where we simulated a 3-day run that we went on that was going to be very difficult and challenging to the team, because we knew that we were going to have this turnaround of a short week, getting home late from our first game and going into the second game. So the most important thing about it is that I know the guys, I know the team, I know the program's excited to open up here, for Bronco Nation, and, have a day game here on Saturday and get Albertson Stadium going. What do you make of what, the marketing department, everyone's doing in terms of some of the new things they're trying to do, and they're going to raise a flag before the game now, and they got the one new scoreboards in, and the fan experience, I guess, as Jeremiah calls it. What do you make of just the game day experience and what they're trying to do here? Well,
I think that's a huge part of college athletics, whether it's college football or any sporting event here. I mean, that's what makes college sports. It's the camaraderie, it's the environment, it's the fan base and what they bring to it. Obviously, it's the entertainment and the fun that the university and the program bring to the campus, and obviously into whatever venue, the stadium, the arena, whatever that looks like. That's what makes college athletics. It's a student body, that has been back in school now for a couple weeks, and now they have the opportunity to come watch the Broncos play here at home in Albertson Stadium. And I think, that's a special thing. And, not only because of the challenge we have this week with our opponent, but even more so, it's our first home game, and making sure that, we stay locked in this week as a team and we handle our preparation so that we can be our best, because we're going to need to be.
Andy, how much are you involved in some of that stuff that they want to do and push forward with it at Albertson Stadium to enhance game day?
In the off season, not now, it's football season now, but in the off season, yeah, it's year round. I mean, the amount of conversations, preparations, brainstorming ideas, then putting things into play that goes on, I mean, it's a year-round process to get these things worked through, whether it's some of the upgrades to the stadium, whether it's some of the things that go on within the game day experience. This isn't something that just happens, the week of the game. This is months and months of preparation, and so there's a lot of people involved. We're very fortunate. We're excited about the new improvements and the things and the creativity that obviously our leadership and Jeremiah and our staff are bringing to our game day experience.
When you have those meetings, what's important to you? I mean, what do you talk about? What do you push? What's your priorities?
For me, when it comes to the game day experience, number one is creating an atmosphere of energy. Like, this is one of the best venues in America to be able to play college football in. Now, obviously, that has a lot to do with us. They're without the team, without the football, and that is the most important thing to me, Mike, because no one's in Albertson Stadium if it isn't for the football team, right? So that is the most important thing to me, but creating an atmosphere where there's a ton of excitement, a ton of energy, that's what Broncos Stadium, that's what Albertson Stadium has been about, traditionally in the past. And so, again, very excited about what they're doing there. But, you know, that's all off-season stuff. Now we're locked in on football. We got people to handle all that stuff, and they do a really good job with it.
Is there any pressure or somewhat good pressure to show up against a lesser team on paper this weekend in front of the home crowd?
I mean, here's the bottom line when it comes to that, okay? This team is talented. They got guys just like we got guys. They got guys that will play in the NFL on this team. So, I mean, at the end of the day, it is about our preparation and our process and making sure that we understand the things that we need to do in this game to be our very best.
You see some of the other scores around the league, is that easy to show your guys, you know, you can overcome?
Every game, we know what it is. In college football these days, I mean, just from last weekend, we saw a bunch of things happen. And so the thing about it is we work all year round from January to now, and to take advantage and maximize every opportunity you get, every week of preparation to keep growing as individuals, as groups, as you know, whatever 3 phases of the game, collectively as a team. I mean, we need every opportunity we can get. We need every practice opportunity we can get to keep growing, and let alone have the challenges we're going to have this week with the team that we're facing.
With Caleb, you know, you go back and look at the replay. It didn't look super egregious, but he didn't. I don't know if he played after he picked up that personal foul. So, what happened with Caleb there?
Yeah, the referee said that he taunted the other player. So.
Was it a decision? To not play in the rest of the game, I guess.
No, he actually had something come up. He was going to play, and something come up from all the running he was doing on punt and all that. Yeah, I don't think there's nothing there.
Andy, what about the production you're getting a linebacker?
We keep Caleb in the game as much as we can. He's the best corner. I don't know why we would take him out.
The production of linebacker between DJ and,
Yeah.
and Zeke, on the outside, I think we're somewhat surprised by it. On the inside, I'm assuming this is what you expected, or are they playing better than you thought?
You know what, Mike? I mean, just the body of work all the way through. Those guys have been extremely consistent. And those guys have been here, Mike, for a long time now. Like, those guys, their experience and how they prepare and what they put into it, you should see how much they prepare. I mean, they know the plan. They know it like the coaches do. And it's really fun to see when you have older guys that have learned, because trust me, they weren't that when they first got here, when they were freshmen. But that's the cool part about this game, is being able to see guys develop and grow and come into their own. And now, obviously, they're deserving of how they're playing right now. And not only them, but bringing some of the younger guys along with them and developing them. That's the plan at every position, Mike. That's the plan at the D-line. That's the plan in the secondary. That's the plan at the O-line. You know, some of the things going on even on the O-line behind the scenes right now, we're really excited about with some of the, you know, some of the younger guys that are on our team and how they're developing and coming along.
Speaking of individual growth and younger guys developing, through 2 games, Genty is the leading receiver. And then last week he had 6 yards to carry. How much more involved in the offense can he be, and how potent can he be?
Yeah, I mean, he's showed, we've talked about it all the way, you know, since we were able to see him play in the spring. And, you know, not only his, you know, his skill set, but how smart of a player he is. You got to be able to handle a lot of different things just besides the X's and O's to play as a freshman. There's a lot that goes into it. You know, we're excited about what he's done so far, but trust me, there's a lot of things that just to the normal person watching film, you know, we got to get a lot better at. And we've said all along that we're excited, you know, that we have a guy to be able to complement George and what George is capable of doing.
How promising is that 1-2 punch? I mean, I know that you guys could have thought very highly of Genty coming out of fall camp, but the fact that he's producing and being a legitimate 2 in that 1-2 has to be impressive.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you want, right? You always want 2 running backs. You got to have 2 running backs. And then guess what? We got a 3rd guy too. And guess what? We got a 4th guy that maybe everyone doesn't get to see, but is working behind the scenes and doing a really good job too, that we're really excited about. And I will say this, not only did the offensive line get stronger as the game went on last week, but I think everybody saw how those 2 backs were running the ball and what that does to, you know, an opposing team.
Rodney Robinson played through 2 games?
He's been good. You know, the first game we were in a lot of base personnel. So, you know, he didn't play as much in the first game. In this last game, he did some really good things. Again, much like one of our other players, you know, he came out there a little bit earlier than we had wanted him to just because he was working through something. But he's played well. He did a great job last week. with all the communication that goes into fitting the triple option and all the different fits, and then all the play actions we were getting off of those looks too. So from Rodney's experience that he's had in the first 2 games, the things that we would hope is that he would just continue to keep learning and growing, especially when you're a safety back there and all the communication that goes into it. He's just got to keep growing in that area. But we're, you know, from the standpoint of when we moved him to field safety, he's shown to be a lot more comfortable at that position and just needs to keep on growing.
We saw Hank hit on some early deep shots to Cole, Wright, and Billy, but then there really wasn't another one the rest of the game. What's it going to take for the passing game to become, you know, consistent for 4 quarters?
Yeah, I think that has a big part to what we were talking about earlier, is just making sure that we have the right personnel and the right positions for certain concepts, certain plays. You know, and then through the course of the week of building in that timing within that personnel, this consistency of who he's making these throws to throughout the course of the week, and obviously just being able to execute that in the game because we practice it with certain looks, certain personnel.
Kaniho obviously has gotten some more playing time in the last couple of games. How do you think he's played?
Yeah, I mean, the last team went right at him too, you know, and I thought he played really well the other night. There's a lot of space out there, given the nature of the team we were playing against and having to get some numbers in the box to handle the triple option. And I was really proud, you know, of the way he played, how persistent he was. And then too, like, he made some nice plays in the run game too on some crack replaces and some things like that. Again, a guy stepping up, with Markel going down here for a little bit, and then you know, even Tyreek LaBeouf, and he jumped in there and played a fair amount too in this last game. And so really just continuing to grow those guys at that position. JC, just keep bringing JC along. I know he gave up a deep ball, but let me tell you something, JC's covered and done a really nice job throughout the course of fall camp and the first couple games so far. So we just got to keep growing and getting better at that position. And again, we're excited about how they handled themselves the other night with all the play actions they were taking on.
I think it was after the second scrimmage, you brought up Cole Wright's name because he made a big play in that scrimmage. And also, we don't know a ton about Cole. What can you tell us about him? And he obviously got an opportunity, and he took advantage of it in Albuquerque.
Yeah, I mean, Cole's been, whether it's on special teams, you know, where he's getting more involved, his role's increasing. Why is his role increasing? Because he's accountable. You know what you're going to get from him. You know what you're going to get when he goes in there, whether it's on special teams, whatever position or role he has there, or when he goes in at wide receivers. Again, there's an example of being able to identify some things that Cole can do very well to help the team. And now it's just about a matter of, personnel and some things within our game plan to be able to continue to, not only for him to grow his role, but others too.
When you call a player accountable, Andy, like, how long do you have to prove that, you know, to earn that title, I guess, for you?
I mean, that's a matter of just being consistent day in and day out. Like, no different than, you know, some of the other guys that, for example, it's Zeke and DJ have been this way for a while. It just didn't start this season. You know, Scott, we're going on the last 2 years of vineyard. I mean, Scott's consistent. He does things well. You know what you're going to get from George every day. Okay, you know what you're going to get from Davis, from Steph, and so on. So it's just a matter of practicing a certain way and handling your preparation so you can practice a certain way. And then, Jay, that usually leads to guys being able to do it in the game. If you can do it consistently in practice, and those results usually happen.
You take 6 sacks and 12 tackles for loss or whatever every game. I mean, that might be a little higher than the average ends up being. But is that more of what you think this D-line can do than what we saw in the first game, obviously?
Yeah, I mean, in the first game, you know, there wasn't a whole lot of drop back pass. There was a lot of play action, you know, and that's going to be something that's consistent. So with the play action pass comes more than 6-man protections and things like that. So it's how do we move forward and how do we adjust? How do we create? Because at the end of the day, in the passing game, you got to create pressure. And that is always a huge to-do of depending on the offense we're facing, how do you create pressure on the quarterback?
Going back to special teams and underclassmen, Andrew Simpson, he made that big punt block. How important is it for players, especially when they're starting out, to buy into special teams early?
It's huge because that's where a lot of guys are. I mean, we got Cole going because Cole is doing a good job on special teams. Like, all right, if you can do it on special teams and you can do it all the time, you know, and he shows his ability on special teams, his explosiveness, and let's get him going on offense. Let's get him going on defense. If they can consistently do it on special teams, you know what Drew is. You know, in practice he's blocked a few, and it started in the spring when he was on the scout team, not on the first or second punt return team. Drew was on the scout team giving our regular punt team havoc, and so that's how Drew got a shot to be on our punt return team. And obviously we saw how that unfolded the other night.
With James Ferguson Reynolds obviously playing much better in the second game. What was different for him, or just the first game jitters out of the way? Or
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know what, this is his we learned a lot. I learned a lot, he learned a lot. There's a lot of guys that learned a lot from the first game, and that's what we just want to see. We want to see growth from one opportunity to the next, and James is a huge example. I mean, 46-yard net is a pretty big deal. And on top of that, the placement of some of the punts that we had there, you know, inside the 20 or even tighter in there, you know, inside the 5.
You asked me briefly about George Tarlas after the game, but what do you think of his performance? And I mean, that's quite a bit of production, or as much production you guys got out of the D end in a while here. I mean, that was pretty impressive performance.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for George is just him continuing to learn and grow on how it is to play the edge position, you know, the different things that we do here at that position, and he's putting in the effort. Obviously it's a different scheme. It's fundamentally and technically it's different than what he's been used to, and the more and more that he gets reps and he gets better at these things, he's going to put himself in position to make a lot of plays. So it was cool to see, because when you're playing against a team that runs a triple option like that in the run game, you got to be really on with what you're doing from play to play and handling your responsibility. And especially on the edge against a triple option team, it comes down to their techniques. And he did a pretty good job last week with handling all his different responsibilities, how we were changing things up on the edge for the quarterback read plays and stuff like that. And you know what? Sometimes his technique, you know, at his position would change with emotion, and being able to handle that and trusting in the fact that, no, he's going to get this done because we're building his level of discipline and being able to execute certain things.
What's your Friday night routine for home games this year?
Same as it was last year.
Which is dinners, movies, I mean, what do you guys kind of talk through?
So we have our meetings here. We have chapel here for those who would like to attend chapel. We have our Friday night meetings just like we do on the road. We have dinner just like we do on the road. And then the team goes to the hotel, and same as on the road. And then when they get to the hotel, much like on the road, they get an hour of time to visit with their families, the parents, the friends, whoever it may be that's coming into town to visit and watch them play. They get a chance to visit with them. And then we finish off with one last team event just before bedtime there in curfew.
This is a little bit about Tubes after the game or whatnot. What is it about him that he just seems to squeeze all the juice from the fruit, if you will? I mean,
I think you guys help with it. You guys put the chip on his shoulder. Like, I mean, you guys help with, like, the motivation because he's so I mean, the guy is so on point with everything he does. And, again, I think he's that guy. He's the classic Boise State Bronco that we've all come to know and love of who he is as a person. He is that guy that everyone doesn't think that, you know, he's good enough, fast enough, whatever. He's definitely all those things. He's smart enough, and he's a really good teammate on top of that. And so those are all the things that make Alex Tubner. And I'm just so proud of him, how he stays the course and how he's persevered through everything throughout his time here and generated his opportunities. Thank you. How you guys doing? Got the win. A little bit better after that. Yeah. Hope you guys are doing well. Thank you. How about Kansas, man? Jeez. Lightning striking, man.
Spence, you sat here last week and you weren't happy with, the pressure you guys got, playmaking in the backfield, any of that. And 12 tackles for loss, 6 sacks, a number of more hits on the quarterback. What do you think of the effort up front?
I think they did a great job, man. And we have the right guys for it. And it was cool just to see them respond and seeing the missed opportunities we had the week prior and seeing them take the coaching and the drills we did and then trying to put them in better situations. But honestly, hats off just to our players. I mean, they play hard all the time. They practice hard. And then seeing that translate to production on the field was awesome for them. So just excited for our players, man. They did an awesome job.
How about George Carlos? From the first play of the game, he seemed ready to go.
Yeah.
He showed that he could be kind of a force.
Yes.
For you guys.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, George's that guy that I'm very happy that he was able to achieve what he did on Saturday. Now, there's still a lot as a whole group we need to grow in and improve, but it's cool for him just to now because same thing, he works his tail off. I mean, we've talked about before, he's in here training, watching every little thing he can on his opponent and also the ways he can grow, and then seeing that show up with the production he had on Saturday is awesome because when you put the work in, you do it consistently, being able to reap those benefits is always super encouraging as a coach. So it's cool for George to be able to see that, and there's still a couple other sacks on the table that I know he's frustrated about, and we'll make sure we get them next time. Thanks, Jeff.
How frustrating is it when you play really well and you have to give one big play and it changes a lot of the numbers and things? And you were going to give up like 50 yards for the game or something if you take out that one play.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely frustrating to answer your question, BJ, but it is a very good thing for our players to always see, like, you live on the razor's edge on defense. You can be giving up whatever is 40, 50 yards to that point of total offense, and one play comes out and they launch and they get it and it's an explosive play and all those things. So very frustrating to happen. We're working on finding ways to where it doesn't happen, first and foremost as a coaching staff, and then the techniques that our players play with in those situations, especially on the outside. But it's the razor's edge we live on, and trying to show our guys that you could be playing lights out all the way up until one moment, but you have 1 or 2 or maybe 3 bad plays. All of a sudden you lose a football game and everyone's looking at you like, why'd you guys play so terrible on defense? And maybe it was only 3 or 4 plays, but that's what you need to be elite, is to find a way to make sure those don't happen. And especially if you give up an explosive play, we got to find a way to get them on the ground and give us another shot, because I'll take our guys against anybody if you give us another shot.
You were putting historic numbers and you take out that play.
Yes.
Overall, you had to be pleased, though, you guys were able to limit that the way you did.
Yeah, no, I'm very proud of our guys, especially on a short week and the type of schematic issues that they present with the different run looks and the play action shot. Our guys, from obviously the frustrations we had the week prior, learning and growing from, knowing what we needed to, and like I said, still a lot of room to grow, and I'm excited for us to take another step this week, but very proud of how our guys played, and I think they're playing at a high level.
When it comes to Zeke Noah, is he like literally playing faster because he's faster, or is he just playing faster because
It's funny. There's a lot of people that ask. I mean, I think I'm excited for Zeke and DJ together. Especially there were some question marks, I think, going into this year, with losing Riley and depth at inside linebacker, and seeing them play the way they had these first 2 weeks. Once again, still a lot that they need to improve and grow in, but they're playing at a high level. I think they understand the scheme at a new level for themselves, to where not only can they communicate and get things lined up, but they know what they're supposed to do because of how they've prepped, and they have confidence to be able to go out there and play fast. So they're not playing hesitant and reacting. They're able to know what's coming and they can go attack, and they're playing fast.
You look into their eyes, and they just seem pretty locked in.
Yeah, they are.
How dialed are those guys? And Zeke shows a little more emotion than DJ.
Yeah.
DJ's pretty
Yes.
flatline, it seems.
Yeah.
You look in their eyes and you see how dialed they are.
No doubt. And just if you guys could, see these guys from now until kickoff, they live in the meeting room. They obviously, as older guys, they're taking care of their bodies with the amount of reps we're having them play. So they're living in the training room, making sure that their bodies are ready for these moments. And then when they get out there, they're playing at a very high level because of how they've handled that week. Because don't get twisted, when we go to practice, these guys are getting all the reps. They're playing their tails off. So it's not like we've changed anything from their load. Like they're getting a lot of work, and they're getting ready for the game in practice and meetings, which is what everybody in our defense needs to do. It's just really it makes me feel good for them because of the work I've known they put in this whole offseason. I know Zeke and DJ both had things that they wanted to do better from last year, and seeing them do that these first 2 games, still a lot of things that we want to keep taking strides in, but I'm very happy with what they've done these first 2 games, excited for them to take another step.
What's DJ like as a person? What's his deal?
He is one of the most engaging guys you'll be around. If you ask, I don't want to just say him. There's a lot of these guys on our team, or multiple, but he's that guy that will walk by anybody and know something about him, right? Everybody loves DJ, and they just love him. And everyone's got a nickname about him. I mean, he's a super hairy guy, so guys call him all different types of names, right? But he's just he's a phenomenal teammate. He's paid his dues, and so he's a guy that has been here for a while and is now stepping into a big-time role for our defense, but it hasn't always been that way, but he's never changed. He's been working his tail off when he was younger. Then he got on some special teams. Then he got a backup role. Now he's a starter making plays, and he's a low ego, high output guy. That's who he is. Where he's in the meeting room, he's helping a freshman out. He's studying the same way he would study like he was a freshman, and now it's just cool to see him making these plays and like Jay brought up, like moving at a very high level that DJ, he hadn't moved like that when he was here early on. So it's cool seeing him kind of step in that role. But he's an engaging, fun guy, and very, very level-headed. Always has a little joke, but he's super tough too. Like he's a guy that if he's banged up and I'll ask him how you feeling, great coach, and I'd be like, no, like literally tell me how you're feeling. Like I'm not, because I know you're tough and I know you're going to be that guy that pushes through.
So in case we run into him in the hallways, what's the one thing we need to know about him?
Oh, man, you can mess with DJ. You can joke with him. Like, he's got a great personality. Probably mess with him about his beard. That's something that we usually mess with him about because I always joke with him that I would pay good money to have the same beard he does. But he's a guy that you can hang out with, interview, be around. Like I said, just a low ego, high output guy that is just phenomenal beer. And a guy that I know that I am excited to be close with long after he's gone from here. Oh, he's rocking it. Oh yeah. There's a lot of different names for him. Let's just say that in the locker room. But he's a fan favorite in our group because of who he is as a person. Like he can go to the freshman who just got here, but then he's also got the respect of our older guys because of his play on the field and how tough he is. So he's just a great leader on our team.
What are some of those nicknames you throw around then in the locker room?
I'm gonna leave those in the locker room. Yeah, we're gonna leave those right there. Yeah.
How does the conversation go when you have 2 defensive guys that get picked to help out with some offensive endeavors like you did on Friday with Herbert and
Oh man, they love it. I mean, it's whenever that package is called on offense, I mean, you just see the defensive sideline just light up, and they see Herbert Gums and Scott Matlock go out there because it's an awesome way to really bring both sides together. Obviously, you have special teams, which is really the culmination of O&D together, right? Us coming together as a team. But then when you see Big Scotty and Herbie go out there on short yards or goal line, I mean, our guys, they love them. They just want them to score another touchdown. It's really what they want now more than anything.
How do Herb's hands compare to Scott's?
Ooh, that's a good question. I mean, Herbie's got some good hands. Scott does have a touchdown on him, though. So it's close. It's close. I will say that. They're both ready for a touchdown. I've told Coach Plough that.
With Kaniho, he's got to come into play some, obviously, with Markel going down. So it seems like at times teams are picking on him a little bit or trying to throw his way more often. Some good, some bad. I mean, how do you look at what Noe's done so far?
Yeah. Very proud of Noe in regards to, I mean, he came off a shoulder injury in the offseason, had a really good fall camp, and especially with Markel going down, stepping into that role, and knowing that, I mean, Caleb Biggers is playing at a high level right now. Not perfect, but he's playing at a high level. So opposite of him is usually where teams have shown to go. And Noe stepped up, man, and he's continued to grow and work the techniques, the fundamentals that are going to help him. But he's a very savvy football player, and not a lot phases him, which when you play that position on the outside, I tell him, if you make a mistake, everybody knows. There might be someone in the box that make a mistake, you get it down, maybe nobody knows what happened. At corner, you make a mistake, the world's going to know that it was your fault. And so you have to live on that razor's edge that obviously we don't want them to make those mistakes, but if they do, you got to line back up and be ready to compete again. And he does a good job of that. And it's been cool to see him grow even from last year because he played a lot last year with the injuries we had at corner and seeing him step into that role. So I think him and Tyreek LaBeouf both have done a really good job picking up with Markel's absence.
How do you look at, obviously, LaBeouf is a lot bigger, lankier, provides that. But how do you look at like him and Noe? They're both fighting, I guess, for playing time there, but they're different guys.
Yeah, very different players. Like Noe's a very savvy football player. Tyreek's longer than him and can use his length in different situations. So the techniques that they use sometimes will be different. One will play better press, one will play better off, and they both kind of do things better in certain situations. And so that's what we're, as a coaching staff, having them compete and being able to compete at those spots because they both do things differently. I think Noe's got the transition to be able to run with anybody. Tyreek's long and can win at the line of scrimmage. And so there's a lot of different techniques that I know Coach Warren's working with them that can highlight what they can do best. Because at the end of the day, we need those guys to play at a high level. And if a team doesn't like what they're dealing with in the box or they can't figure out our structure, the immediate thing they know they got usually is something on the outside. And that's what's shown up for the past couple games and even last season.
What do you think about Scott Matlock starting the season and whether he's pressuring the quarterback the other night or getting out of the line of scrimmage to make some plays? I mean, he's pretty impressive.
So proud of Scotty. I mean, and you guys know this about me. I mean, but I love him dearly. And it chokes me up sometimes just thinking of him and where he's come from to this point. But he is playing at a very high level now. There's even some stuff from the game that there was even some more production that he left out there just from some from keys and some eye control that he needs to work on. But he's playing at a very high level, and he should be in regards to who he is, how he's prepped, how he's trained. And I'm excited to see him even grow as the season progresses because I think the world of Scott Matlock. And I think he can continue to take football as long as he really wants it to go, as long as he keeps growing. Because the mentality he shows up here every day, guys, is exactly what you would want it to be. He comes in here, works, takes all the reps in practice he needs to, lives in the training room, goes in the weight room, trains. There is nobody that is above that. And especially a guy that takes the beating like the D tackles do day in and day out. I mean, he shows up to work, and he'll be the first one to the football on a pursuit drill that we're working in practice. There's I played this many. No, he's still getting there. And seeing that now show up in games, the fourth down stop, the sacks, my heart gets a lot of joy for him because I know the work he's put in to now make those plays.
What's it like to try to get him out of the game?
Tough. I'm glad I'm not on the sideline. I'll tell you that right now. I just phoned down, hey, Frank, take Scotty out, and then I just mic's up, and then little by little we get him off. We got to take his helmet from him. But he just loves football, loves this team. And like I've told you guys before, I mean, I'm not saying in a perfect way, but I never need to guess if Scott Matlock's going to be ready to go this weekend. Like, he will get himself in a situation to where he'll be ready to play.
Dimitri looks like he's off to a quiet start. There was cramping issues that first game. What did you see this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the cramping is something that showed up for us with a couple different guys, game one and even this past game. So it's something we're looking at holistically in regards to hydration and pregame and some of those, which I know inhibited him in game one. But Dimitri, he does so much for our defense, and he's one of the guys that brings us a lot of multiplicity in regards to being able to play stud, field side end, in our sub packages. He can be off the ball. And so now it's really just fine-tuning it for him to where, okay, let's make sure you're in the role that you can make a lot more plays because he's smart enough to be able to do all these different positions. Now let's put you in a situation to where you can capitalize on your knowledge. But he's been working his tail off, and even with the cramping and getting banged up, he comes out and practices and plays super hard. So I really think the best is still to come for Dimitri.
You guys had the punt block, obviously. But the play before that, you have the sack to actually pin them deep in the end zone to where you can make that play possible. How important is it, I guess, for you guys to have good plays and then build upon those plays like you guys did with that punt block?
Yeah, I mean, it's just complimentary football without question. So if a team is backed up, which they were, it's our job to make sure they stay there. Because then even if the punt doesn't get blocked, our offense is starting on the logo or close to the 40-yard line, which, I mean, you're going to score points more times than not. So trying to build that into our guys that it's not just defense, offense, and special teams is, okay, if we can keep a team backed up, obviously you want to block a punt and score a touchdown every time. But at least let's give the ball back to our offense on the 40-yard line. So trying to breed that in at all times is everything for our guys. And being able to continue to build upon drives. Like the biggest thing that I've been talking to our guys about is similar to like what BJ brought up is just living on that razor's edge with your discipline and your eye control because we have a good team. We got a good squad. We're growing every week. Now it's can we go 3 and out, and just keep at a team, and not let a lax in eye control or discipline create an explosive play that then has us reeling. And so that's something that I've been on our guys about, and they know, and that's defense. It's not like that's Boise State. That's if you want to be elite in defense, you got to make sure that's who you are, where it doesn't matter the play, doesn't matter the drive. You're getting the same thing from a discipline and a production standpoint regardless. And I think we're taking steps to that, which we did this weekend. Now it's just going to be staying at it and continue to do it.
Spencer, did somebody ask you about UTM?
No, not yet. Yeah.
Did you answer
Yeah.
what impresses you?
Yeah. Got a lot of respect for what they do. I mean, talked to a lot of different defensive coordinators that have played them over the years. The head coach is very involved in the offense, and he does a phenomenal job with it. They got a quarterback that can make every throw. I've seen him throw a comeback all the way 16 yards, bottom of the numbers, opposite hash, which is a tough throw to make. They've got really good speed at receiver, got a tough tailback, and their offensive line is long and athletic. Like, they do a great job. They have multiple blocking schemes in regards to their mid-zone and some of the different gap schemes they create, and they have a tempo aspect off of it as well. So I think it's one of those offenses that you got a lot of different stuff you got to defend. You got to defend the outside perimeter game. You got to defend the shots, and then they create so much space that you got to find ways in regards to run fits to make sure you're sound there. So hats off to what they do offensively, and it's going to be another big challenge for us.
All right, Sean. Thanks, Spence.
Thanks, guys. Have a good day, guys. We have who backs him up right now will be Jared Reed.
Okay.
And then there's a couple other different. It's going to be some movement around guys from different
I
positions.
know you got the nickels and the
Yep.
safeties are all
Oh yeah.
versatile.
Yeah, it's a musical chair if we keep that situation.
Okay.
Get him, Coach Bob.
Yep.
See you guys. Have a good week. Thank you.
Good afternoon. He played better, obviously, than week one, but still think there's areas he can improve and play to a higher standard, but was just proud of him for having a response where a lot of people would struggle in that situation. He kept his head up, had a good week of practice, teammates backed him, and was happy to see him come out and play better.
You guys really got on the roll in the second half, especially. When you're starting to take control of the game, what adjustments did you guys make at halftime just to get on the roll?
Yeah, I think we changed personnel groups a little bit. I know people may not believe it when I said it a week ago, but that defense is a legit defense, and with a great coach running it. And so we knew the problems they were going to create, and we knew it was going to be kind of the long game with them, that hopefully we could establish some physicality in the run game and hopefully wear them out at the end. And then from a protection standpoint, it's hard to drop back like you normally would because of all the issues they create in protection. So we knew it was going to be a little bit of a kind of the long game. Wish we would have got off to a better start, obviously. Had some opportunities there. But yeah, I think we just, again, we stayed committed to what we wanted to do in the game plan, didn't panic, and wanted to give our defense great field position, lean on them early, and then hopefully could wear them out late, and we did a good job running the ball late.
You mentioned the start. Were those, like, I think it was the 2-3 announcements at the beginning of the game, were those all kind of scripted plays, and do you have to adjust that when, I think there was second and long on both of them?
Yeah, we always have an opening script, and yeah, the first play, we're trying to throw a screen to George, emphasizing just trying to get him the ball early, and we missed a block on the perimeter. And then the second drive, there was a miscommunication. They were yelling out stuff on defense and kind of trying to get the center to snap the ball, and Kakani ended up snapping the ball without us signaling a snap, which they later got called for a penalty in the game for that. So just some early nerves things that again, we got to do a better job starting the game faster and trying to get up on teams. So again, if we can get a lead on teams and turn our defense loose and not play so tight, that'll help us out obviously early in games.
If you look at the short signal thing happening, the defense, I'm assuming, is constantly talking, but how much does that really affect what?
There's a lot of different things going on there, Bob, because, a lot of teams in the shotgun are going to go off of the clap. And so, guys could be clapping on defense to try to get guys' attention, to get guys to move. That could signal a snap. It could be they're trying to stem the defensive front, and as they're doing that, they're screaming it, and then they're trying to do two things. They're trying to move their front but also try to jolt the offense. And a lot of teams use that use that mechanism, and as they should. But that was the one that just kind of got him snapping the ball before we were ready for it, and those kind of plays can kill drives, obviously.
If you look at George's track record through his career, he gets stronger as the season goes along, and it's kind of happening again this year. Maybe that applies within a game. It gets stronger as the game goes on. How do you get George off to a faster start in a game and in a season?
Yeah, I think we were trying to do early on there, Mike, is maybe get him some balls on the perimeter, maybe throw him a couple, so it wasn't just handing the ball off to him downhill. And because it takes, with the zone scheme that we're heavy on right now, it takes some time for the O-line to get into a rhythm with that every week. And so it's probably finding ways to get him the ball on the perimeter in different ways, line him up in different spots, so maybe he can get feeling it a little bit. But I'm with you. I think he does get stronger as games go. That has proven with his running style. So we just have to stay committed to him and committed to the run game, because when we do, we've shown that late in games it tends to pay off. So it's trying to find that balance of, we got to get points early in the game. We got to be aggressive early in the game and get after teams. But also we need to be able to establish run early and land some body blows so that later in the fight that those pay off.
Does the line get better too? I mean, like, you got a confusing defense that they have. I would think the more you see it, maybe the better you understand it. So does the line
Absolutely.
get better?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially with a defense like that. I don't know how in-depth you guys get with that, but if you watch the amount of movement their defensive front is doing, it is complete chaos. And it's not something you can really practice, even though our scout team did a tremendous job this week getting those guys ready. And the only reason we were able to run the ball with any efficiency was because of the look we got from our scout team. So you can't really simulate that. I would compare it to like a triple option on offense. You can't really simulate that until you get into the game and you see it and you feel it. So, yeah, our offensive line did a tremendous job throughout the game, but you could see them get more confidence in picking up the movement and understanding where they were going to be. And Hank did a tremendous job targeting the run game and getting guys in the right spots. And I think they got a little rhythm with that as the game got going.
Why would you like to mix and match George and Ashton within the same series? Other coaches maybe rotate series. Your thought process about how you use running backs within a game?
Sometimes what it comes down to, Mike, is George might get tired, right? Like maybe he has a couple runs or he's out there for 5-6 plays, the drive's longer. And so we have some studies we've done through practice on GPS on guys' workload and how their effectiveness goes throughout a certain amount of plays. And so if that's the case, then you put in a fresh running back. Remember, the defense has been out there for the same amount of plays. So if they don't sub, those guys are pretty tired. Now you throw in a fresh running back that they have to deal with. So it's kind of along those lines. And then sometimes we'll maybe start a drive with Ashton, a couple drives in just to get a different flow of that. And we're doing the same thing, though. If he starts a drive, same thing. We're kind of tracking his numbers from what we know from practice to know how many plays he can probably go before we get George back in.
Why was Friday the perfect time to sprinkle a little Cole Wright into the offense? And is that a guy that can see his role grow or opportunities grow?
I hope so, Jay. He's got a lot of talent, still a younger guy, and has been practicing really well. And that was why we wanted to get him a couple things in the game. Hey, man, we're going to put you in for these plays and get you rolling, because he had practiced so well that we wanted to reward that. And it was awesome to see a guy. Sometimes you get him in there and the lights come on and maybe he doesn't play as well as he does in practice, but to see him make that catch, I think those are one of those things that can springboard a guy's career. Just the receivers I've coached, it takes them a couple games, they catch a ball, they make a good play, and now they feel like they're a part of it and their role grows. So with his speed and route running ability, and with us losing Bolt, which was really a guy that we were going to lean on this year, that's definitely a guy whose role needs to grow, and I know it will as he continues to practice well and get better reps.
Maybe kind of along those same lines, you look at Latrell Capel. I mean, he was beaming after the game, getting into the end zone twice, and the way that you got him the ball. And how versatile is he, and what can he provide?
Yeah, the first thing about him, Jay, is just like the story of him with all the injuries he's dealt with and just his background and what he's been through. That was pretty emotional for all of us just to see him get some touchdowns and get some joy with playing. He's an integral part of what we do. He's great in the run game, which people don't see. He's very physical, and we want to get him the ball a lot in games if we can in different ways. And, again, I think we got a bunch of good wideouts. We got to piece it together on where to put them and how to get them good matchups so they can succeed.
Look at Ashton. I know you guys saw it in fall camp and in spring ball, but is he doing stuff that's making you need to find even more ways to involve him in the game plan?
Yeah, I mean, I think what he showed on Friday was what we saw in camp, which was he's extremely elusive, catches the ball well, but he runs with some physicality. And when you're a young guy and you have a fumble maybe in the first game, I think what shows the type of player and person he is how he responded right away within the first game and how he came back this week, played even better. He's a special player. But you got to realize, again, if you're putting both of them in the game, who you taking out of the game, and if you're putting him in, you're taking George out sometimes. So there's definitely a chess match there of how many times we want to get those guys in. But I think of the plays we had, right, those guys touched the ball. I think 61% of the game went to either Ashton or George because of how dynamic those two guys are.
How can, I mean, I know Mike was asking about George, but I mean, how much of a 1-2 punch can those two guys be if they're both going strong at the same time?
Yeah, I think that's a pretty elite group. I've been coaching a while now. I don't think I've had two backs like that could really be game changers at any moment. So I think as their rhythm continues to grow and their confidence grows, and as the season progresses, I think they'll get stronger, more confident, and I can see us having similar days to what they had the other night.
What's the percentage of like when plays run that are exactly your calls, and then Hank kind of having to see the defense and then make adjustments in the line?
Yeah, Hank adjusted 26 of the 66 plays in the game. Yeah.
What does that mean in terms of adjustments? Is that audible, like hot routes, or what?
Some of it is based on what he sees at the line of scrimmage, his freedom to change plays. Some of it's based on we might have two plays called. Some of it's he gets up to the line of scrimmage and notices something different. And again, that's a lot to put on a quarterback. That's just the way I was taught when I was a player within that system. How for the run game and pass game to be successful, they got to have a good understanding of what's going on in protection and in run game. And so again, I think that can become overwhelming. We got to do a good job as a staff of piecing together, what he can handle and what he can't. But everyone's going to judge by how many touchdown passes did he throw or how many yards did he throw for, which obviously those stats matter too. But what they don't see is that he was 100% in the run game for us this week, and he was close to 100% in getting us in the right protections this week. And if he does that, that sets up everyone to be successful, and that just comes from training and getting good practice during the week.
Of those 26, when you go back and watch them, like how many were the right calls?
All of them.
All.
Yeah.
Taylor got in for a snap. Was that just kind of shake things up?
Yeah, we want to use him, right? We want to get him in the game as much as possible. But mixing quarterbacks up can be tough within a flow of a game. But he is such a threat, obviously, with his running ability, and he can still be a threat passing. Sometimes you bring in a wildcat quarterback, and everyone knows he's going to run. He proved that he can throw the ball. So we got to find different ways. Every week might be a little different, might be more some weeks than others. But would love to get his dynamic ability in the game sometimes if we can in certain situations.
Who do you see in UT Mark?
Yeah, they're an extremely talented team. I got a lot of respect, obviously, with my career in the FCS ranks. If you're a playoff team in the FCS, you're a serious football team. And on defense, they got a lot of great athletes. They got a dynamic front. They do a lot of different things on the back end. I think they're top in their conference at stopping the run every year. So there's a lot of things we got to deal with this week and need to make sure we stick to our process and play our best.
Style-wise, is there anybody that you would compare them to what they play?
I think they remind me a little bit of BYU from a defensive structure, and just from what they play from a front standpoint and what they play coverage-wise, it's similar to that, I would say a little bit. But definitely unique to them and to that conference. I think if you look at the OVC conference, a lot of those teams play that style of defense, which is usually how it goes at different conferences. A lot of guys are going to steal from each other. And so if you go through all those teams like we used to do back in the day, we would play them in the playoffs, you'd get all those similar looks.
Tim, I know that Khalil probably skewed the numbers on the 50-50 balls last year. Billy had a couple of opportunities that looked like I know those are tough catches, but how much of that needs to be a part of the offense where somebody does go make a play in those scenarios?
Yeah, I mean, it's no question our pass game is what I think has been definitely lacking in the first two games. And from a guy that grew up in the offense of throwing the football all over the yard, it's definitely something that's hard for me to sleep at night if we're not throwing the ball for closer to 300 yards. And right now we're in a lot of third and longs, and we're not successful on our third and longs right now. third downs in those scenarios, it's going to come down to a guy winning his matchup, an accurate throw with good protection, and a guy making plays. And so there's been a combination of whether it's been inaccuracy from the quarterback or a guy not winning that 50-50 rep or winning on that route, where I know our guys are motivated and emphasizing that this week that, hey, we've got to be able to throw the ball with more efficiency and with more aggressiveness to be the offense that we want to be. I have all the faith in the world in Bill, and I know he's going to come down with those balls because I've seen him do it in the past. So we're not going to stop taking opportunities to throw him the ball. And for whatever reason, we didn't come down with him the other night, but it doesn't mean we're going to stop throwing him.
Building off of kind of that, are there any more tangible things about the offense that needs to improve by Saturday, especially in front of the home crowd?
Got to get off to a faster start in all areas of the offense, just in efficiency and how we run things. And then need to be more explosive in the pass game, need to be more efficient in the pass game so that we can have a little more balance. So that, again, that will help out everything.
Thanks, Coach.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
How many plays is he doing, maybe participating, really being a part of? Obviously, outside of the or something like that.
No, I think